Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander, Forged Alliance Forever, where today we're going to be looking at a grudge match. Yes, it's the players from the last game, the last cast. Tomruler and Keli, of course, and they're going at it again. Let's see if Tomruler can redeem himself after that slow death, and see if he can take on Keli in this match, or if Keli will remain the victor. And with that, let's go ahead and, of course, get into introducing our players. But first, I want to shout out two YouTubers who are in the FAF community now. They're relatively small. Go check them out. I'll try and put links in the description, and if I don't, just comment and yell at me about it. But Javi and Rowie both have started making videos. One has made guides, the other one has done some casts, and I know Rowie does some streaming as well. And I think we should look into helping out our smaller content creators. Now, with that out of the way, let's start introducing our players, starting with the Red Aeon, the champion of Aeon. He is like me, he basically only plays this faction, and his name is Tomruler. Then moving down to the southeast corner, we have ourselves Keli, the blue Cybran that yesterday had quite the showing against Tomruler and just kind of choked him out of the game. Let's see if Tomruler can find his redemption on the map Sickleback Ridge, a map I haven't seen before, so very interesting, at least to me. And it, of course, has around 6,500 reclaim, and that is not important because what we do have is a 5x5 map with a lot of expansion and a lot of choke points. So playing a more defensive style can kind of work on this map as long as you push out and get some expansions. You can kind of stay on even with eco and then just kind of build up defensively. It's so much harder to attack via the land routes on this map, and you have bunches of changes in elevation. A very interesting and, in my opinion, good map. So we'll have to see if these players can manage it and what they see as the best strategy for coming out with a W. Early on, we have a Flare and Spirit combo out from Tomruler, kind of just sitting here, biding its time. I'm sure later it will come out and try and pick off an engineer or two. That is the grandest goal of a Scout and Lab combo. And ultimately, what I kind of want to see is I want to see if these players are going to go for the same direction. The expansion, if you're spawning for Keli, this one's so much further away, and this one's so much closer, so you could see a situation where one player's like, I'll send my comm to the one further away because the closer one's easier to grab, and vice versa. I'll go to the one closer. I don't know what I'm saying. Why am I speaking? What is this? I'm like a... What is that thing? I'm like an 8-ball that just spouts nonsense. Oh yeah, engineers, they're doing engineer things, reclaiming and such. We'll go ahead and check in on the economies when we reach about the 10-minute mark and check in on reclaim, as it's not really all that significant right now. We do have early expansion out from Keli, going for the Hydro at this expansion, which is a semi-Hydro rush, but not quite. And then gonna build up some what seem to be defenses, maybe some mexes and the such. And these players just building up a bunch of factories. Early air factory for Tomruler versus his opponent, not really going for an air factory, so that could come into play. We could see bombers do damage, or we know not. We can also see interceptors being built currently. This one is the Aeon Interceptor, just kind of is like, it's like 40% gun, and the rest of it's like, oh, this bit is for staying in the air. It's so much gun on that Interceptor. Over here, there is an engineer getting chased down by Selins and tanks. A very poor life for him as he goes down to the likes of that Selin and tank combo. Who gets the kill? The Selin does, and almost gets a rank of veterancy out of it. And we get a little bit of veterancy going on for the tank as well. Actually, they all count as one kill. Did they change it to where, like, if you just do damage, it counts as a kill? That's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought it was if you get the kill and you've done, and it counts how much damage worth of mass you've done. Either way. Auroras versus Thoms. Thom gonna die. Engie gonna die soon after reclaiming the likes of its Thor brethren that had fallen. Two engineers gonna go down over here for Tomruler as Keli just continues to put on pressure with his tanks. And that is going to be unfortunate for Tomruler. He now has no build power in the area to keep building up this area. If he loses any of these mechs is, it will be a little bit of time before he's able to replace him. He has to get another engineer out over here. His comm is now running up the middle, seems to be trying to focus his comm in the middle of the map to possibly be able to deal with flanks on either side. I don't know why these tanks fell back. There was not a great reason for it, in my opinion. You could have just kept on pressuring here. You had the advantage. You killed off everything but the mass extractors. But these players, much better than me, and of course have better ideas, I'm sure. And of course I'm playing with that 2020 hindsight vision where I can see the entire map. Keli pushing forward with the comm, picking up a few kills on it, which is always nice to see. And Tomruler in the middle, now picking up a mass extractor and continuing to walk forward. There is a PD over here, but a PD does die to a T1, to an unupgraded comm, so it's a question of if you want to trade the HP to kill the PD, and of course without it having walls. I don't think walls affect it if the comm is, if it's a comm firing anyways, but the walls not being there means it's a little bit more vulnerable than a PD with walls. And we have a Thom about to go down, but manages to get out on fire. Both of these Thoms kind of just like, oh no, somebody call damage control, we need to not die. Thom down. Second Thom going down to the likes of the Aurora, and that is gonna be the Aurora needing to fall back now as the Thoms and Seraphim units push forward. The comm of Keli up here grabbing up some reclaim, built a PD to try and hold on to this position, but the PD is kind of in a bad spot. Of course, whenever you're building PD, you always want to look at the terrain. It's gonna have a bit of trouble firing up this cliff, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And overall, when we look at the terrain of this map, you can just see there's, as I said, there's a lot of changes in elevation. There's very little flat ground, to be completely honest. Other than the main spawning bases, the ground is relatively wavy and hilly and may produce issues for units later on. We also have these hills in the middle where you can build some cheeky point defense or whatever to kind of be annoying to whatever may come. Two engineers over here, kind of in a precarious spot. This could be a situation where these engineers are trying to get up here to do something or another and just get shot to death. A bunch of Aurora firing on Thoms that are trickling in. This trickle down army supply is not doing very many favors for Keli. Needs to really regroup his units. Over here on the south side, another PD being thrown up. A lot of PD being thrown up by Keli, but this PD is just going to go down. Without walls, Aurora can just kill PD. And we, of course, now have another T1 PD about to go down if the artillery can ever land. It doesn't even take the artillery to kill it. The Aurora do eventually pick off the kill on that. And with that, it looks like map control is really starting to go into the favor of Tomruler. You can just see he has very slight map control win. He's going to have slightly more mass extractors, whereas Keli is kind of boxed into a corner. You can see just from the vision ranges that Keli is having trouble fielding enough units to deal with this. We have a couple of T1 bombers just causing trouble for the likes of Keli. Keli's still not having an air factory, really going to hurt him, but he's rushing Tech 2, about to have T2 finished on his land factory. He's going to be able to get up Ilshivas and T2 Pigeons and Shields and PD. He'll have all of the things that come with the territory of being on that higher level of tech. But at the same time, we are seeing a bunch of eco upgrades for Tomruler, and as we check in on reclaim and the such, a slight reclaim lead for Tomruler, but he's up to 37 mass a second versus 35. That may not seem significant, but it is, as there's just slightly more economy going on for Tomruler right now, which he did not have in the last game. In the last game, he was just struggling to get enough mass to throw into units. This game, he will have enough mass. He is going to be at a tech disadvantage, at least temporarily. I don't see any tech up happening other than this T2 air factory. Could see something like Spectres become very significant, and also since you are Aeon, you have access to the Swiftwind, and Swiftwinds are exceptionally good at being able to simply get air control for yourself at the T2 phase. And when you're on a smaller map and you're in a 1v1, swift wins much more useful than they are in team games, because in team games there's usually somebody trying to rush T3 air. But in 1v1, rushing T3 air is a lot more difficult, so being able to just rely on your T2 air for a little bit longer will help out Tomruler quite a bit. Tomruler looking to possibly capture an enemy mass extractor, or maybe, oh wait, he already has captured that enemy mass extractor, taking over the Seraphim mass gathering techniques. And overall, just as I said, going out, taking more of the map. He's also doing relatively well on reclaim, and he's built himself a 2,000 total mass lead, which is very significant here this early in the game. 2,000 masses, somewhere in the range of like 1/20th of all of the mass gathered. Actually, that might be wrong. 2,000 mass is probably more than 1/20th. I'm quick maths. Don't do it. It's bad for casting. Don't do math while you're casting. Range on the way for Tomruler. Speed and range already finished up for the likes of Keli. Keli, yet again, last time got speed and range quicker than Tomruler and really abused it. Now on this southern side, he has Ilshivas. On the northern side, he has the gun comm. He is going to start putting out a lot of pressure. He's been boxed into a corner for most of the match, but now he's going to be able to start venturing out of his base and causing issues for Tomruler. The question is, will this early air investment really work out for Tomruler or not? Because Tech 2 air is a bit more difficult than Tech 1 land or Tech 2 land to just use. You have to kind of babysit it, but you can abuse it. And the question is, how well will he abuse it? Keli pushing up with that gun comm, trying to take out some of the static defense in some of the units, but just not quite able to get in range to deal with it. He, of course, outranges these T1 PD, but I guess he's just playing a little bit more timid than he needs to for some reason or other. He's a bit scared, honestly. Right now, he definitely has the advantage on the ground, and now we have Spectres coming out of the base, and the first air factory now finishing up for Keli. Keli is going to be in a lot of trouble. He's going to need anti-air. He's going to need flak very quickly, because these Spectre gunships are going to be able to start getting a lot of value. Already picking up its first kill, and will be able to start hunting down Ilshivas. That's what it needs to do right now. It needs to hunt down the Ilshivas. He probably needs to get a few more built. He has T1 bombers now coming out. He's going to be able to use his air in a point of power to just kind of bully out these units out from Keli. Speed now almost done for Tomruler. He's going to have speed and range done relatively quickly. We could also see him opt for a Chrono again. We saw Chrono in another 1v1 not too long ago, so we could see an opt for Chrono, a very good upgrade. But that would be a little bit further out. Generally, for Chrono, you want to have, well, if he paused a lot of stuff, he could definitely get it right now, but I don't think he's going to. That would definitely put him a little bit behind. T2 land now finishing up for Tomruler, so he has a tech advantage in the air, and he's even on tech on the ground. Is he going to go for Obsidians or Blazes or a mix? I usually like to go for a little bit of a mix, have the Blazes for the DPS and mobility, and the Obsidians for simply the staying power they have in a fight. There is a push now coming out from Keli as the gunships continue to float around. This gunship up to 12 kills and 1 veterancy, just constantly picking off units over here on this flank and being a nuisance. There's not enough interceptors to deal with this. There's 2 air factories producing, but we could also see swift winds come out, and we have another air factory producing interceptors now for Tomruler. So Tomruler doing quite well, and he did go for the early Chrono dampener. He has to pause so much of his base. Maybe with him getting up the T2 PGen, he can afford Chrono dampener. I think, yeah, right now you can just afford Chrono dampener. You can unpause it as long as you can get your mass dealt with or start getting up enough reclaim to pay for it. You can afford Chrono dampener at the moment. There is a couple of Spectres now over on this eastern flank, and they're just whittling down the forces of Keli. Keli having trouble fielding a force that isn't right next to his main base, and he just doesn't have the interceptor count to really deal with these gunships. The gunships, I don't think, are quite a threat for a snipe. There's a ton of T1 anti-air, mobile anti-air coming out now to try and deal with this, but that just means that he's not producing tanks. If you're building all of this T1AA, you're not building tanks. You're not building those units that will kill off the enemy units. So It's definitely a very good investment out of Tomruler to go for this early Tech 2 airplay. It's really giving him just a lot of map control and a lot of power, and it's forcing his opponent to make plays that are not quite optimal for gaining territory. When you can't gain territory, you fall behind economically. That economic lead of 51 mass a second, oh, never mind, they are even economically on generated mass, but the reclaim lead is still growing. And it's only recently that Keli has caught up. Keli now starting to take some ground. He's pushing out, taking out one of the expansions of Tomruler. Tomruler has some units here to help deal with this, but he's just not willing to commit with the Ilshivas. He's trying to build up his force of T2 units. He has some asylums over here on the eastern flank, and he has an army that I think might be strong enough to oust Keli, make him abdicate, as my good friend the Duelist is very, very fond of that word. Make him abdicate this position, make him give up the crown, so to speak, of that expansion. But it does seem Tomruler does not see that as a great opportunity. He cancels his Chrono dampener, so he is still out here with a guncom, is still able to just kind of blap away at these units, and he has the Spectre gunships. There's no point in really going Tech 2 air unless you're going to try and get to Tech 3 quickly for Keli. If you build gunships, you're going to be outdone by the likes of Swift Winds and just the fact that your opponent is focused air a little bit more. And yeah, this Tech 2 airplay just very nice out of Tomruler. Keli, on the other hand, the Tech 2 land early has really helped him out. He has these Ilshivas now pushing in. There are Asylum shield generators, but there's not very many T2 damaging units. So once those shields go down, the Aurora ball will just diminish exceptionally quickly. There's a bunch of Obsidians and Asylums now building up on this southern side of Tomruler's base, and that might be very significant very soon. Tomruler heavily focused on getting Chrono dampener. I do believe it is the strongest upgrade in the game. Some people will argue with me saying it's Nano or it's Regen Aura. I say that if you're fighting in a normal game where you have both armies and your comm, the comm with Chrono dampener wins because your army is just completely negated. It is such a good upgrade, and people sleep on it way too much. It's so good at shutting down people who are doing exactly what Keli is doing. He is focusing so hard on this ground-based composition. He's trying to pummel Tomruler into the ground by using ground forces. Chrono dampener, once it's finished, wherever this comm is, you cannot use a T2 land force. The only counter to Chrono is, well, there's a few, but the counters are something that you don't generally want if you're playing a land-focused game, is what I'm trying to say. If you're playing a front position on any map that is a team game and you're Aeon and you don't get Chrono dampener, you're kind of trolling, because it's a cheap upgrade, relatively speaking. Like, compared to, like, Nano, I'm pretty sure it's cheaper than Nano, isn't it? Let's even see. We can just check it right now. Nano, 56,000 at 300 power. Chrono, can I check the cost of it still? 52,000 at 428. So it's less power, but faster expended. It's a faster upgrade. It's not that more difficult than Nano to get, and people don't see Nano as this unachievable thing. Once you get into the early mid game, you can get Nano, and Chrono is arguably way better because it just stops your enemy from having an army. The counters are air, and if you're playing a land focused composition, air is a little bit more difficult. And especially with what Tomruler's done. He's T2 air on Aeon. He can build Swift Winds. Swift Winds will beat Interceptors once you get a ball of Swift Winds. And I'm just a huge simp for the Aeon, you know, but Chrono is actually ridiculously good. And if you, as I said, if you're front and you're not using it, you're trolling. The other counters, if you do want to know, other than air, is T2PD. T2PD can shut it down because T2PD is pretty good at killing comms. And that's kind of it. T1PD does nothing because you have range. You can outrange a T1PD. Land, you have to have like sniper bots to start dealing with it. Or I guess mobile artillery, but that is a bit more dicey. You have to trust mobile artillery to hit something, which isn't always the case. And this Ilshiva's just gonna die because Chrono. Tomruler kind of just... He's challenging Keli right now. He's telling Keli, hey, Solve this issue. I am here, I'm in your face, I have Chrono, you cannot use your units to win this. If you attack into me with your units, my units kill yours. That's just how this happens right now. So Keli is going to need to do exactly what he's doing right now. He's building T2PD. It is the counter. He can stop both the army and Tomruler himself with this. But it's not a fun solution, because now Keli is kind of just locked into his base. Over here, his entire army is right here, but like there's going to be an army pushing up here to the north, and like it's just a difficult situation that Keli is in right now. Keli having Nano on the comm is a huge saving grace for him though. Nano is the only other upgrade that I would say is combat-wise as powerful or close to as powerful as Chrono. But at the same time, you can kind of just jump on Keli with all of your units. You kind of can just right now. You could move in here. I'm not sure if you'd win, but I think Tomruler just has the composition to win this. He has a bunch of interceptors. He can get some Spectres in for some giant burst damage. He could go for a win. He's used his army on the northern side to kill off this expansion. That's some T2 mexes that went down. And now he's just slowly whittling down the army of Keli. Keli's army over here in the north, it's doing fine, but there's no Chrono up there. But Keli needs to answer this, because here soon, Tomruler can start building mobile missile launchers and force Keli to build even more defensive structures. And you know what defensive structures aren't? They aren't the thing that wins you games. They just don't. Tomruler over here is pushing forward. He's firing into the comm of Keli. He will lose this without getting any kind of support. T3 land has finished up for Keli, and this might be a saving grace. Sniper bots, as I said, can counter this. He's building Othams right now because I think he believes he needs a strong front line at the moment. We have a bunch of Spectres coming in to deal a bunch of damage to Keli. Keli up to 2 vet with that nano upgrade, 82 health a second, and a large air fight now breaking out between these players, and a huge fight in general going on. Looks like there's a push over to the south of us right now, but that would be the west, going northwest at the moment. But the push is now trying to get on to the army of Tomruler. Tomruler does need to use Chrono. He has to use Chrono right now. He's at a tech disadvantage. He has to use that Chrono to shut down those Othams. Keli starting to push this back using his gun comm and trying to use his tech advantage. Tomruler having trouble moving through his own units, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. And we're going to go ahead and go back to normal view. Over here on the north side, we have some units that might be able to pincer Tomruler, but Tomruler falling back quite steadily. He has some defenses set up. It's going to be a little bit of time before the Othams are able to just kind of roll through this western side. After he got kind of punched in the face over here, after he had to abdicate this position, after he had to give up the means of mass that he had here. I don't know why it was like going socialist. Giving up the means of production. But after losing this area, he's built up a lot of defenses. He's going to make it a slow attritional fight in order to get back there and deal that damage again. He dealt the damage over here, and I believe he's just at a mass advantage. He's below on reclaim, but overall, he's at 74 mass a second versus 52. And that is a huge amount of difference to make up. He has 1/3 more economy than his opponent. And he can just kind of start doing what he wants. He can go Tech 3 on land. All he has to do is continue to use the comm, which I don't know where he put it. He put it over here. That's not necessarily the best spot. He just needs to continue to use this comm to keep Keli from getting to his economy. He has to stop Keli from dealing economical damage, and he will just be in a great position. Keli is trying. Keli is playing very well, trying to get his units into a position where they can deal damage. Also, I'm zooming way too much, aren't I? We have gunships still floating around. We have some swift winds now out on the field. He's using the air advantage that he's built for himself. He lost a few Spectres earlier on, but that's not going to be a huge detriment to him because he can just rebuild them, and he killed off all of the air force of Keli. All of that air force that he took a while to build up is just gone. Keli's still only on T2 air factories, so he's not able to outproduce the production of Tomruler. If Tomruler, he doesn't even necessarily have to go for swift winds. If he just wants more, he can have it. He can just have a lot of more interceptors. There's a large army now pushing in towards the main base of Tomruler, and this is really what he needs to avoid. This can do critical damage right now, The army of Keli just kind of piling its way through. There's a lot of Ilshivas still in this force, so it's still a force to be reckoned with. There is a mobile flak, 2 of them in fact. If the flak go down, the gunships can come in and start cleaning this up. But until then, this is going to be difficult. Units streaming in from Tomruler trying to get in behind this force. This force is going to go in here. The good news is that there's a lot of things to distract the Ilshivas firing. They can fire at these T1 power generators that aren't really important. A T2 P-Gen going down for Tomruler. And we're going to be able to see a lot going on here very soon. There's a ton of units still in here, but these Ilshivas are slowly being whittled down. 1 T2 P-Gen is not critical damage. Tomruler did not even really need that P-Gen to keep his economy afloat. And now the issue is that there are T3 tanks all around the map. They're going to start pushing in towards the likes of Tomruler. Keli now starting to lose this Ilshiva push. He got in, he killed 1 T2 P-Gen and a couple of T2 mexes, which it could have been way worse, but it wasn't good for Tomruler. Tomruler, with that, is now brought down to lower economy and mass generation than his opponent, but now he has a ton of reclaim to get up. Let's see if he can manage to transition that into a lot more generated economy, but maybe he will, maybe he won't. In the end, it looks like Keli has slowly clawed his way back into a position of having map control again. He doesn't have full map control like Tomruler had not too long ago, but he has enough to stay in it and keep fighting. The comm of Keli killing off almost 3,000 mass worth of stuff at 2 veterancy. The comm of Tomruler killing off 4,000 mass worth of stuff at 3 veterancy. And this comm of Tomruler is going to continue to push forward. Could just go in here and start killing off these Authams. They're all very low on health, but I don't know if Tomruler really has that information. No, he does not. So I'm going to play it a little bit more safe, waiting for an Asylum shield generator to help him out. And of course with Chrono, these units only get to fire a couple of shots at a time, and just keeps on stunning up these units. A dead Autham, giving him more and more progress towards that next rank of veterancy. But on the other side, Keli now starting to push out towards the west of his base. He's going to start killing off some PD, start getting some damage done towards the likes of Tomruler. T3 land has almost finished up for Tomruler. He's about to have the parity that he's looking for on land. He's building T2 transports. I don't quite understand what the point of this is, other than maybe trying to move the comm around, but that seems risky as, well, I guess there's not a ton of interceptors. He does have air control, but still it's risky to put a comm that has Chrono and all these nice upgrades onto a transport, because you're just more vulnerable on the transport, you know what I mean? A large push out from Tomruler now trying to get into the main base of Keli. The issue with this push is Obsidians are great, but they're going to have to fight through a few Authams, and Authams are way better than Obsidians. Of course, mass for mass, they are better. The question is, how much mass worth of Obsidians are right here? There's a ton of Obsidians. And they're going to start pushing into the base. They're going to kill off these Authams, since the Authams are fighting basically 1v20. And this push is looking like it might deal some critical damage. There's going to be a T2 P-Gen going down, and I think Keli is a little bit more reliant on his T2 P-Gens. Yep, this goes down. Oh no, he has his units right next to it, though. That is a bad sign. You don't want your units right on top of a T2 P-Gen you're about to kill, but that does happen. And now Keli is having to either pause stuff, or maybe he got up another T2 P-Gen. No, he's just kind of having trouble with his economy at the moment. Of course, this isn't a huge, horrible fix, but the T3 HQ goes down for Keli. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about doing economic damage, but Tomruler going for the scalp, going for the jugular, killing off that Tech 3 land means that Keli is now relegated to T1 land again. And that's going to be very difficult. He does have some Authams that have come down this flank and are dealing a lot of damage. He has the comm. He has probably enough time to rebuild up to get himself back up to a T3 factory, but there's going to be a moment here where it is T2 air and T3 land versus T1 land and air. This is going to be a very difficult situation for the likes of Keli to deal with. And these Authams just, they're gonna die. They do die. They are not invulnerable. They're gonna die very slowly. It's gonna be a struggle, but Tomruler is on still a decent economy. He can afford what he's building. Keli is still on a very good economy. He can really rush this up to Tech 3, but he's losing a lot of production time, and he's throwing a ton of mass into something that isn't necessarily a weapon. He's going to have to throw a ton into getting this T3. It's not an inexpensive upgrade, and in the meantime, he's going to be able to produce Ilshivas out of all these T2 factories. He's going to have a ton of reclaim. That is a saving grace here. But right now, Tomruler is going back out. He's re-expanding. Hell, he's trying to take this expansion with his comm. He's going out. He's grabbing map control. He's grabbing more mexes. He has T2 engineers going out with orders to build mexes. Hell, he might be building T2 mexes on the Rex, which would be efficient. We can check right now to see what he's doing, but Tomruler in a great position this game. Keli has fought very hard and is dealing way more damage than he ever deserves to, and he's still playing it very well. But it just seems like Tomruler kind of had the number this game. That early air has kind of put Keli on the back foot since the beginning, and now we do have T3 sniper bots coming out from Tomruler. And with that, the game calms down a little bit. Let's just go ahead and look at some stats. We have reclaim-wise, 20,000 for Keli in Rising, and 18,000 for Tomruler in Rising. Tomruler has taken slightly better trades with a 1.11 kill-to-loss ratio mass-wise. And overall, economically, Tomruler is sitting around 85 mass a second versus 90 for Keli. So Keli having all of these T3 mexes in his base is really helping him out. He has all of these T3 mexes, which are really just kind of keeping him afloat at the moment. He's up to T3 land again. He's going to be able to start building up Othams relatively soon. How is his power doing? He did lose power generators, which is, of course, never a fun time. He's up to 13,000 power generation, which we don't normally look at, versus 2,300. So 1,000 power a second advantage over to Tomruler, who is still producing those sniper bots. Sniper bots extremely efficient, but require some amount of micro. And now they're going to be getting in range to kind of deal damage to the base over here, which is going to be... It's going to be a dangerous position out here for Keli. Keli can also get up his own sniper bots, and that is exactly what he's doing. These snipers are kind of getting in range when they didn't need to. Those sniper bots were kind of being wasted, but you know, you can afford to waste things when you get in and you give yourself such a huge advantage. Wow, a T3 mechs over here. That is ballsy. This mech's super exposed, but I'm sure Tomruler will really appreciate having the extra mass a second. He doesn't even have a T3 mechs in his main base, I don't believe. Let's see, how many T3 mexes does Tomruler have? He has 2. Keli is sitting on 4. But if we want to go and compare T2 mexes, that will be a very difficult. He has 8 versus Keli having... Does he even have a T2 mex? He doesn't have a single T1 or T2 mex, does he? Where are your mexes? He has 4 T3 mexes and no other mexes. He's literally living off of just the first 4 mass extractors in his base. The map is dark and full of Aeon right now. He is in such a bad position. He needs to have a breakout fight. He needs to break out somewhere and just start dealing damage. He has multiple HQs for some reason now. I don't know what that is all about, but I guess he just wants the production. Is he having trouble spending his mass? Maybe a little bit. But it kind of just looks pretty well balanced as of the moment. And over here in the middle, we're having Harbingers just come out of the woodwork. How many land units does he have? He has 9 Harbingers and 4 sniper bots. He has 12 Obsidians versus 20 Ilshivas and 4 sniper bots and 3 flak. So the Ilshivas and sniper bots is still a good combo. Ilshiva's still really good, but when you're going up against Harbingers and Spectres, Ilshiva's less good. Also, his flak is not in a position to kind of deal with this giant Spectre wave, still abusing the T2 air advantage. He's abused it since he's gotten it, and now Keli box into a corner, and it's kind of looking like a reverse of the last game where Tomruler had this slow and agonizing death to the hand of Keli, and now Keli kind of just doing the same to his opponent. Or Keli is in the same position, not... I don't know what I'm saying. Tomruler is doing the same thing to Keli now. And the economic advantage, it just grows. They're very early even on total mass accrued, but 149 mass a second versus 109. He has a 40 mass a second lead. If you want a context for 40 mass a second, 40 mass a second is the same as building 2 Harbingers every 40 seconds. 2 more Harbingers every 40 seconds. That is how much mass he has advantage of right now. T1 bombers coming in. And able to just kind of... They do a little bit of damage, but they don't really get anything for it. The Harbinger and Sniper bot stack here should be strong enough. I think he can just kind of... Maybe not with the gun comm, maybe not with the gun nanocom, but he's getting very close to a critical mass where he can just walk in and deal critical damage yet again. That push out from Tomruler earlier with the Obsidians, despite being down on tech, was just so brutal to Keli. If you're gonna do this, just commit. Just commit. Go in with the Harbingers. Go in. Don't sit on the edge of the range of some PD. There's a lot of PD in the base. T2 Pigeon's going down. A T3 Pigeon was just finished up, so that's really not gonna hurt him. And we have air factories. One of them about to go down. And Harbinger's just kind of blapping away at Ilshvas that are now kind of coming up here to try and defend. Keli about to get his comm involved by the looks of it. And sniper bots trying to be used to stop Tomruler from advancing. Keli going full on bomber, sniper bot, Ilshva. He's just playing as defensively as possible, but he's not building a ton of PD. He has a few PD, but he's just not, it's not like he's just spamming PD. Take notes. This is how you play defensively. You get long range units, you get some units to go up and distract, you use your comm, you can play defensively, you can kind of turtle without building shield generators PD. Sniper bots going down. We have some mobile artillery from the look of it. Yep, and that is going to be able to be used to just deal some damage. Tomruler's comm kind of just sitting back. 61 kills and 8.7 thousand mass killed versus 4,500 mass killed. This gun comm really just not bringing out the value that I thought it might. And we have a chicken. A chicken on the way, 50% done. Meanwhile, do we have anything of the same? I see a GC queued up, but not quite building yet. T3 Pigeon, the first of its kind for Tomruler, now being built. Tomruler, I think, in a power stall. Yep, he is in a power stall, which is going to be unfortunate for him, but it is the situation. He's going to back off a little bit during this power stall. You don't want to be fighting with Harbingers that don't have shields or asylums that are down. So he's going to back off for a little bit, but he's even up here with T2 mexes. Like, literally, you can see the main base. It is so close to the main base with T2 mexes over here on the front line. We have T1 bombers coming in, trying to kill off engineers and the T2 mexes, but Tomruler just, like, disrespectful amounts of economy out on the field and up to almost 200 mass a second now. Still 109 for Keli. He has not expanded. He's not been able to get more going on as far as that goes. He's living off of reclaim. And Tomruler is starting to just choke him out. The GC is going to be done long after the chicken. The chicken will be able to give Keli a huge amount of map control. And in fact, we're just going to put tracker on the chicken. And we're going to see exactly how this goes, because right now it doesn't look like Tomruler has the forces to be able to deal with the forces being fielded, or be able to deal with this base out from Keli. Maybe he does, but he's not confident in that fact, so he's going to play it a bit more safe. The chicken now coming out onto the field, going to be able to maybe get some damage done. And he's going to go after the large group of Harbingers here in the middle from the looks of it. He's going to try and kill off this large T3 force that Tomruler has built up. The chicken now pushing out, already up to 4 kills and rising. Starting to blap away at Harbingers. A large push out from Tomruler, or maybe this is just some kind of disorganized retreat. But Harbingers going down in swaths to this chicken. The chicken up to 18 kills, working towards that first rank of veterans. He should have it relatively soon. Is still firing, of course, with those Gatling guns. Spectres coming in. They are going to be shot down by interceptors very slowly, but they will get shot down. 10,000 mass killed, and that's going to just go up. He's almost at that first rank of veterancy with 32 kills, and he's killing off high-value items. There's Harbingers now going down in the middle over here. And it's just looking really bad for Tomruler. This chicken kind of came out of left field and is really causing him to lose a lot of control. He just lost a ton of T2 and T3 army, and now he's having to deal with a chicken that does have a not insignificant amount of support from its army. And there are Spectres now out in the field. All of the interceptors out for Keli have been cleaned up. So these Spectres are just permanent kind of free damage. They will eventually get shot down by the flak cannons on the shoulders of the chickens, but that will take a while. You could also have mobile flak come in, and that is happening. But Tomruler needs to come up with a solution for this chicken. The solution could be that GC he's building, but he needs to micro against the giant plasma death ball. You're about to see it fire. That plasma death ball that just came out of the air, that's flying through the air right now, that is able to kill off the GC very quickly, so he needs to be careful about that. We're going to stop tracking for right now as the GC is coming in hot towards the likes of Keli and towards the likes of Keli's chicken. And Keli now working very hard at expanding behind this. He's trying to use every second this chicken is alive as an excuse to get more mass extractors, to get more mass under his belt. But even with all of these mass extractors going down, 153 mass for Tomruler versus 113 for Keli. So Tomruler in a mass advantage. He needs to keep on dodging those electric balls. Those electric balls have to be dodged, and he just dodges another one. And the GC is going to be able to deal with it. Oh, that electric ball does so much damage. But the chicken is going to get in close. This is what you want to do with the chicken. It increases the likelihood of that plasma ball hitting. And the chicken's going to go down. A few Othams may go down afterwards. The GC getting 1 rank of veterancy will help him. That 35 mass a second will help. But the death ball of the chicken kills off both an Otham and the GC. So neither player has an experimental anymore. A second chicken on the way. A second GC on the way. These players gonna apparently stick to killing each other's experimentals with experimentals. Keli currently scooping up a ton of reclaim, 59,000 versus the 43,000 from Tomruler, but still, overall economy, Keli at 92 mass a second. He is somehow down. I think he's in a power stall. Yes, he is. And Tomruler up to 126 still. Needs to be careful, needs to make sure he's still expanding, still taking back reclaim and grabbing reclaim, but now there's 40,000 reclaim right here, and this is Tomruler territory. This is not something that Keli can easily grab. And Tomruler even has Harbingers. He could send a Harbinger, the most tanky reclaim unit in the game, to go reclaim. He can go reclaim with that. Now we do have some Othams pushing towards this small expansion over here for Tomruler, but Tomruler's comm is here, and let us not forget, he has Chrono. These tanks do not pose a threat to Tomruler's comm. They will just get Chrono down. That will happen. There's no air over here. Well, actually, there is T2 air now. T2 air finished up for Keli. The second chicken finishing up momentarily. The second GC about halfway done. Takes a little bit longer to build a GC than it does a chicken, which doesn't make sense since the chicken can very easily 1v1 a GC without micro. Like, seriously, why does the GC still cost, like, 27,000 mass? Like, the chicken costs less, doesn't it? I'm 99% sure the chicken costs less. Where's your T3 NG? Here it is. Yeah, it costs less and can kill off a GC. If there's no micro involved, the chicken wins. Which is a little bit redonkulous. Also has a lot less HP. Like, it just seems like the chicken is a little bit OP. Or the GC is just underpowered. Honestly, I'm more willing to believe the GC is kind of underpowered. Like, it's good at killing off armies, especially if you get a few of them, but against other experimentals, it kind of sucks. Chicken pushing forward. It does have some support from some T3 land units nearby. You won't be seeing Spectres get right on top of them. And we have a ton of engineers now coming forward, trying to reclaim this. You could see something like, I don't know, he could try to kill off the wrecks themselves, but not opting for that. Tomruler's calm even over here to give some protection and some security for this area. T2 fighter bomber going down, not able to get too much damage, but another one comes through, kills off a T2 mass extractor, which I'm sure is very annoying to the likes of Tomruler. Tomruler doesn't really have the air force to deal with this, which is surprising considering he has T3 air. Tomruler, I have T3 air, but T2 bombers are a real big problem. Oh man. And the GC finishes up. This time we'll give the GC some lovin', some McLovins, and we'll watch the GC's life. It's the GC's life for me. I'm still watching the minimap. The chicken heading out to the west. Looks like it's going to be looking for a push yet again towards this area where the other experimentals died. We have a Tsar on the way. No, that's a land factory. T3 land factory. Why does it look like a Tsar on the minimap? That's so strange. Either way. I misclicked and the GC is now making its way towards the middle. The GC is starting to move towards the likes of Keli's base, and if the chicken does not get into range fast enough, this could be a very dangerous position for the Seraphim player, for Keli. The chicken over here. Oh, GC firing to something. Don't know what. GC now falling back away from the chicken. Man. I'm sure there's some stuff going on that we have a bunch of fighter bombers. Where are these fighter bombers going? Fighter bombers heading up north. Gonna go for the T3 mass extractor that I said was super ballsy, and it was for pretty much this reason. And yeah, that's a dead T3 mass extractor. Over here in the middle, though, we do have the epic fight between the two giant robots. We can see their health bars, both around half health, but the GC not being microed properly is going to really bite him in the ass here. GC will most likely die first. Yep, GC going down first. And the chicken going to be victorious as he walks through the Valley of the Damned. He shall fear no evil. And just like that, Colonel Sanders would be proud. His Kentucky Fried Death Ball is just doing him proud at every turn. 15,000 HP left on the Yathoda. There's some sniper bots firing into it, and sniper bots kind of underrated for killing experimentals, but they're really good at it, as this Yathoda is going on a slim fast diet. And Yathoda dead. Oh, one more volley. Yathoda dead. Come on. Don't make me a liar. Yathoda dead. Yathoda dead. There we go. Two more experimentals down. These two have already been reclaimed up, and looking at the reclaim charts, 95,000 for Tomruler. Remember, he was behind not too long ago. Overall mass generation looking like 69. Where did all of his mass go? Wow, those fighter bombers really fucking over the economy of Tomruler. Keli starting to get in a very strong position in this game. He's starting to claw it back. For a long time, it looked like Keli was just going to keel over and die. But now Keli at a huge mass advantage, 141 versus 69. Tomruler still has a lot of forces out in the field. He still has a ton of reclaim which he can suck up ever so quickly. But he's down to a bunch of T1 mass extractors. They look like they have even map state, but it's not, because it's all T2 mass extractors versus a bunch of T1 ones. The T1 mass extractors being upgraded as fast as Tomruler physically can. He's usually pulling in about 100 mass a second via reclaim. That is his saving grace at the moment. And he didn't really invest in getting a bunch of T2 mexes at his main base, or if he did, they got killed. And that's just kind of the unfortunate long and short of that story. Another chicken on the way. We don't have any more experimentals on the field currently. A GC on the way. GC is going to be finishing before the chicken for the first time. Actually, no, the GC finished first last time, didn't it? No, it didn't, because the chicken was already way over here. Harbingers can reclaim. That is a huge thing to note. He's putting these Harbingers here to try and zone off of the reclaim, which just right here, there's a ton of it. But Harbingers can't reclaim. He's reclaiming the chicken with engineers, and he can tell the Harbingers to reclaim this GC. At least to get a little bit more going, and he's at T3. He has Restorer gunships, and that is a very interesting play, because it's hard for interceptors or even ASF to kill off Restorers. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Keli does to react to this. I'm guessing it's gonna be T3 mobile anti-air or just a lot of flak. I don't think either side is interested in having a giant ASF war. A GC is finished up. This... How did that die? How did all these engineers die? Did they all die? Where are all the engineers? Did they get pulled over here? Or did they die to something? There was a ton of engineers on this just a second ago. They had to die to something, right? I guess. I don't know. But this feels like a ritual. I don't know what he's talking about there, but I will interject. The entire, we're going to build a chicken, or I'm going to build a chicken, you're going to build a GC, and they're going to die right after each other, or one and then the other. Yeah, that does kind of feel like a ritual. It's kind of like you're sacrificing chickens and Galactic Colossus for the experimental gods. The Calm of Keli pushing out. Does he have advanced nano? That is the question at hand. He doesn't. Enhanced nano might be a good choice very soon. He has a chicken completed. There's a GC over here in the middle. There's a ton of sniper bots, which can kind of pre-damage the Yathoda if microed correctly. Let's see if he does decide to do so. Needs to fall back with the sniper bots. That is a need. He also sees the Calm of Keli. The Calm of Keli is really far forward. There might be a chance for sniper bots to get up on the hill, or maybe the GC to cut it off. But the land army for Keli is kind of lacking. He just doesn't have a lot of, like, Harbingers or sniper, or he doesn't have a lot of Othams or... Yeah, Othams on the field. He doesn't even have a lot of sniper bots, so he's kind of just going to have trouble dealing with this situation in general. The Restorers kind of unanswered, just going to keep pouring damage into the Calm of Keli. There is a flak over here. You could just target the flak and kill him. Kill the flak off, but deciding not to, and he can just continue to invest in Restorers if that's what he feels like. Restorers, not a bad investment. The GC is kind of... It's kind of close to the Calm of Keli. If I were Keli, that would have me worried. He knows there's a GC there. And... Wait. Does Keli just die? Does Keli just die? Oh my word. Keli just dies. 42 minutes in, and Keli dies. Or 52 minutes in, pretty much. Wow, that is super anticlimactic after this game. So many experimentals. So much going on. Somehow everything got transferred to Tomruler. I haven't seen that happen in 1v1s, but whatever. But Tomruler redeems himself. Goes ahead and picks up a win against Keli, and yeah, that's the end of it. Thank you to my patrons: Timothy Calderwood, Sergeant Syphilis, Nogthar, Idle Beta, Zoid, Mutant Gene Pool. I think there's another one that I'm missing. We have a new patron. If I missed your name, I do apologize. Your name is going to be in the credit roll at the end, I promise. Oh, also, like if you liked it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm working for 1,000 subscribers. And nobody's watching at this point. So if you are watching at this point, if you are one of the cool people who watches all the way to the end and is still awake and listening, if you go down below and comment telling me the secret word, which is banana, I will be very proud of you. Alright, bye-bye.